And today we are going to discuss or going to concentrate on real signs of last days. And just because sometimes we just limit ourselves saying that, okay, these are the signs of last days. Okay, these are all happening. And we are satisfied with, with our knowledge, thinking that, oh, we know the last day signs. So that is why, so this is a little bit of addition and eye-opening so that we can be more alert about the last day events and see around that what's happening around us. Now, when we think about last day events or Jesus' second coming, we are talking about that even the same curiosity the disciples had among them. So they asked these questions from Jesus, and mostly when you read the chapters, Matthew chapter 24 and 25, that it's all talking much about the second coming, last day events, and also some signs and so on and so forth. Now, I like to draw your attention and to Matthew chapter 24. Let's turn our Bibles to Matthew chapter 24, starting with verse number 6 through 8. And here we find that it's talking about many catastrophes and all the things which are happening, maybe man-made catastrophes, and also the natural disasters it's talking about. Now, for example, wars and all these things actually created by man, and whereas earthquakes and all the other volcanoes or hurricanes and so on, all these natural disasters. So here we find this about these catastrophes, what always explaining as part of this fallen world. It's nothing, it's, extraordinary. So it is talking about all these are part and parcel of this fallen world, because they are going to be there. And a place where these things are not going to be is going to be in heaven or the new earth. So here, if we are going to live here, as far as we live here, we always experience these catastrophes. Okay, now keeping that in mind, we are going to read Matthew chapter 24, starting with verse number 6. I'm reading from a New King James Version for a little bit of extra simplicity. And here we read, "And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you are not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. But the end is not yet." End is not yet. "For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there will be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in various places. All these are beginning of sorrows." My dear brothers and sisters, when we think about wars, when we think about rumors of wars and catastrophes and pestilences or famine or anything, we always say, oh, Jesus is coming soon, and these are all last day events. Yes. But what do we understand with the correct understanding of these three verses? Starting with Matthew chapter 24, starting with verse number 6. Here we find, "And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars." Of course, we are hearing wars. And Russia is fighting against Ukraine, and Israel against Palestine, and there are so many wars going on in this world, which may not come to light sometimes. And here we understand that this is going to be there, and Jesus mentioned here. "And then see that you are not troubled." We should not get troubled about these things. Why? "For all these things must come to pass." It has to happen. So it's happening. Okay. "But the end is not yet." So we are thinking, oh, these are the last days. And there are people already started talking, oh, here the the war of Armageddon is coming, and that is the beginning. And now you can see they are fighting the last war, the final war. We have to go. We have to rescue Israel, and so many things people are talking about. But here we find that the war, we are talking about war, and here it's very clear saying that it's not yet. It's not yet. And again, we go further, we read it further, and we understand here, for nation will rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom. That's happening. And there will be famines, pestilences, earthquakes, and in various places. We are experiencing these things. Yes, all these things are beginning of sorrows. So what are the end of sorrows in that case? So these are all beginning. We are all thinking that the signs of the times, we try to understand this, and we limit ourselves here. No, these are only the beginning. If we are talking that, these are the beginning, so what is the end is what is important to us, because we just only limiting ourselves or pausing ourselves at this beginning, then what is going to happen about the end? So this is what we need to understand, because it's very important for us to understand that the end, for us to prepare thoroughly and to warn everyone. So if we call these wars and these pestilences and these famines as beginning, so we don't have to worry much about, and we can be relaxed. Don't you think so? No, it's not. It's not that case. But this is a beginning. Yes, it is happening, correct. But what about the end? So the end things, or whichever the signs which towards the end also taking place, then we need to be careful. We need to be prepared. So we need to identify, we need to understand what are the end time signs in that case. If these are the beginning, so what are the end time signs? Because always we have a misconception saying that, okay, what are the signs of the times, or what are the signs of the end time, or wars, and we always tell this, but the real ones are yet to come. So this is what we are going to concentrate today, and we wanted to see very quickly, because it's not a very detailed study, but we can have maybe some other time, if God permits, we can always think about studying more in detail about these things. Now, come with me to Matthew chapter 24, verse 14. Matthew 24:14, we read, "This gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all world as a witness to all the nations, and then the end will come." Now, it's not beginning, it's talking about the end will come. Now, this gospel, what is this gospel we are talking about? This gospel, if we hear, and if this gospel is being preached, then the end will come. So one of the signs that we need to understand, which is very close or related with the second coming or the last days, is the preaching of this gospel. It is not talking about preaching of the gospel, it's talking about this gospel. So we need to identify what is that gospel. So that is also very important for us to understand. Now, if we read, and as Seventh-day Adventists, we all understand that what is that gospel? That is the everlasting gospel given only to us for our understanding. And we understand that more than all the rest of the people in the world. What is that? The everlasting gospel. That everlasting gospel, which is explained in Revelation chapter 14, verses 6 onwards. Verses 6 onwards. It's very beautiful that in the chapter 14 of Revelation, if you read from 1 to 6, you understand, you can see it's kind of a preparation. And then it begins from verse 6 and onwards, and 6 through 13, we can read this everlasting gospel, the three angels' message. How many of us are familiar with this three angels' message? How many of us know about the three angels' message? How many of us are preaching about the three angels' message? Because this is a sign of the second coming. This is a sign which has to take place just before the coming of Christ, because the advent is possible only after we preach it to the whole world. So that is what the condition given to us. And in the Bible, in Matthew chapter 24, it was told by Christ himself. So here we understand that very well. And that everlasting gospel is being explained in Revelation 14:6. It's talking about everlasting gospel. So we need to understand that in Galatians chapter 1, verse 18, Galatians 1:18, Apostle Paul also explains something similar. He says in Galatians 1:8, it reads like, okay, but even if we or an angel from heaven preach any other gospel to you than what we have preached to you, let him be accursed. So why this warning was given to us? Because there are so many people in the world today preaching the gospel. What are they preaching today? What are we hearing today? We are hearing Jesus is coming very soon. That is why this war is. That is why this pestilence is. That is why the kingdom is against another kingdom. They are all preaching about that gospel. But that is not the important thing, because that is only beginning. But what is this gospel? The everlasting gospel. That is a gospel will be preached or is being preached towards the end of the times. So we have begun preaching this gospel, and we are preaching this gospel. In order to quicken the second coming, it is in our hands that we need to preach it more and more to more and more people, more and more countries. So this is very important for you and me, brethren, because that is the mission given to us as Adventists, because we need to understand that. But in this gospel, if we read carefully in the three angels' message, it's talking about the commandments. It's talking about the correct understanding of commandments, or correct understanding of worshiping the true God. So that is the true gospel. That is what is mentioned as the eternal gospel, because this gospel will be preached, and that is going to stand for eternity. It is not going to get destroyed. It is not going to get destroyed. It will stand, and that is going to be the identity, and that is going to be among us, and it is going to be our character. So why we are talking like that? Because God's character is being explained in the Ten Commandments, or commandments of God. So we understand the people of God are going to complete and going to fulfill the commandments of God. So what is the only lacking area in the commandments of God, that when we compare ourselves with the rest of the Christendom or the Christian world? It is a Sabbath, the center of the commandments. It is a Sabbath that many people do not observe the Sabbath. Why the people are not going to observe the Sabbath, or they are not observing the Sabbath? They are also preaching the gospel. They are preaching the gospel, but it is not the eternal gospel. They are preaching and saying that we are all expecting Christ to come, and yes, of course. But the message is not complete, brethren. Message is not complete. Why it is not complete? Because that eternal component, that eternal gospel is not there in that gospel, what they're preaching. They're preaching the beginning, not the end. And they're preaching just the introduction, but not the conclusion. So this is a problem I understand. As a people of God, as people of understanding, as a people of chosen ones, we need to understand that, it's a great mission that entrusted to you and me today, to preach this eternal gospel. How many of us are are praying, are preparing ourselves, and preaching this eternal gospel is the question before us, brethren. There are many people in this world, they don't know this eternal gospel. That is what is important. Because Isaiah chapter 58, verse 12, if you read, and also verse 12 and 13, if you read this carefully, it's talking about it says that if you turn away your foot from the Sabbath, it begins like that. If you turn away our foot from Sabbath. So they don't understand the Sabbath. They turn away from the truth, and they don't understand the complete gospel. So this is a problem we experience in the society today. And we are having that fullest privilege, the fullest knowledge about this eternal gospel, but we are not doing our duty. So it is an awakening message that, we need to share it among our brethren, our members, that let us talk, that, okay, let us go and preach this eternal gospel. This should be our message. This should be our work. So preaching the eternal gospel, preaching to the whole world is one of the signs that which we may understand as the last days events. So we are neglecting that to fulfill. We are neglecting our own duties. So this is what we need to understand here. Now, it doesn't mean to say that the signs, that the pestilence and wars and rumors of wars and all, they are not signs. No, they are signs, yes, but they are just the beginning, but not the end. So that's why we should not limit ourselves and be satisfied with that we are preaching about wars and rumors of wars. No, our duty is to preach the complete gospel of eternity. So that is what is important for us to understand. Now, further, we need to understand that in Matthew chapter 24 is especially mentioning about another very important message. And it's talking about a very important aspect for you and me. What is that? Matthew chapter 24, verse 4, we understand, see that no one deceives you. Why it is being told? Because in the last days, these deceivers are going to come. They call themselves prophets. They call themselves preachers. They call themselves teachers. And they are false prophets, false teachers. And they're deceivers. And they are keeping you happy, preaching about the beginning and limiting there and stopping there and not talking about the eternal gospel. And they deceive you and me. And they say there's no such importance to keep the Sabbath. There's no such importance to keep the commandments. God's grace is sufficient. We don't have to do anything else. Believe in Christ, and that's more than enough. And you don't have to follow any precept, and you don't have to have law and the testimony. Just leave it. That is the message we are receiving from many of these false prophets. And they're prophesying today. And if you just go to the YouTube, you can see it's such a lot of false prophets coming and prophesying about that war and this war, who will win and who will not win. And when they started the Ukrainian war, and they started talking about like, oh, this is also going to be, this is a great signs of the times, because the Ukrainian president is a Jew, and they're connecting so many things, stories. And now, to add on to that, the Jews are in war. So this is enough for them to proclaim many things. Brethren, it is time for us to prepare ourselves. It is time for us to be warned. It is time for us to preach that eternal gospel. This is what is expected from you and me. In the same chapter, Matthew 24, verse 12, we read that because lawless will be increased, the love of many will grow cold, it says. The lawlessness. That lawlessness is going to come. That lawlessness. What do you mean by lawlessness? That there is no law and there is no need of law. Love is enough. And this kind of prophecies, this kind of teachings are going to be there, and it is there. So because these signs are there and this preaching is there, so don't you think that we are in the last days? Of course, we are in the last days. These are the real signs of last days, brethren. This we need to understand. We need to understand that lawlessness is existing. So we need to preach about this. We need to preach about this to many Christians as possible, because they are limiting themselves to the basic understanding of wars and pestilence and natural disasters. No, we need to talk about this eternal gospel, and lawlessness is going to exist. And these are another way we need to preach, and we need to understand that it is our duty to proclaim. Now, when we go to we can find another interesting text in 2 Thessalonians chapter 2. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verses 10 and 11, we read, because they have not accepted the love of truth, therefore God is sending them to a deceiving power so that they may believe the lie. They are believing the lie. What is a lie? It's very important for us to understand that lie is existing, upheld, and glorified. What is that lie? It says the first day of the week is Lord's Day and the Sabbath. So that is a great lie. And one of the biggest lies that we understand in the Garden of Eden was proclaimed by Satan himself. It was that you will not die. So that message is still existing, and based on that lie, there are so many other religions have come up. We know that most of the pagan religions, I don't want to limit the Hinduism and Buddhism, all the religions in paganism, that all these religions are based on that lie. So we need to understand that. Brethren, it is time for us to awake. It is time for us to educate our own brethren. Our own brethren. These days we are studying about lost and found in the Sabbath schools. And we studied about the prodigal son. We are going to study about the coin. And we study about the strayed, the sheep. We need to understand that, lost and found. Let us find the coin which is being lost in our community, in-house. The coin didn't go anywhere. It is here in the in-house, but they are lost. They are among us, but they are lost. So let us find them. And there are people who are gone away and they don't know the way to come back. Let us find them as well. Brethren, it is our duty to identify these last days, the real signs, and warn the people. Warn the people. Because as Christians, as God's chosen people, that we need to understand that always we have a mission, we have a responsibility. So this is very important for us to understand, that to warn each and every person, strengthen each and every person. So this is important for you and me to do that we always depend on Christ's love. Of course, there's no problem with that. But it doesn't mean to say that we can neglect or ignore the law. Another big sign that we need to understand, that is the separation. It is that we don't have unity among us. It is that we don't have the oneness among us. We don't agree among us. So that is another sign. It's a real sign of the last days. And who are going to be the betrayers? The betrayers are the people who are going to betray you and me, that sometimes we need to choose, and we need to pray that, Lord, don't choose me to be a betrayer. So that is the most important thing. I should not be a betrayer. I should not be going away. I should be always standing with the truth. I should be always preaching about the truth. So this is what is important for you and me, brethren. It is very important. It is very important. Because it is very crucial time that we are going through, because we are in the last days, no doubts about that. It is not because of wars and natural disasters. It is because the real signs are among us today. real signs are among us, but we are not being warned. Sometimes we are not aware, or else we know everything, but we are not concerned. So let us be concerned. Let us be more serious about the truth. Let us be serious about our life. Let us awake. Enough we slept. And let us work vigilantly and diligently, so that we should be able to proclaim this gospel and quicken his coming, because that is the ultimate sign. Until we proclaim this gospel to the whole world, the second coming is not going to take place. So let us do his will and be united, and always be aware of the false teachings and false prophets among us, and so that we can have a correct understanding of the truth. This is my vision prayer today. Amen.